Ferris, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Victor, would you please lead us in prayer?
Yes. Father God in heaven, we come to you in the mighty name of your Son, Yeshua, who died upon that cross for all of our sins, God. And we want to thank you for everything that you're doing in the city of Monte Vista. We ask that you will also protect the residents of Monte Vista, not just Monte Vista, but the entire valley. God, we ask that you will give us direction and that you will appoint the correct person for the vacant seat. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, thank you. Nita, would you do roll call, please?
Counselor Locke,
Here.
Counselor Lorenz,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala,
Here.
Mayor Becker,
Here.
a quorum is declared.
Any modifications to the agenda?
No, sir.
Approval of consent agenda, minutes of regular meeting from December 1st, 2022, review and approval of accounts payable.
I move to approve the consent agenda, minutes of regular meeting from December 1/22, and review and approval of accounts payable.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there any more discussion? Unita?
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala,
Aye.
Mayor Becker,
Aye.
motion carries to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, no proclamations. Okay, citizen comments, special presentations.
Where's Miss
Do-
Marco?
Citizen comments. City Council welcomes your unscheduled comments. Please limit the comments to 3 minutes. Council will not take action at this same meeting. Have any citizens that want to comment? All right, we'll move on to scheduled appearances. Recommendations from the Recreation Committee at Sky High Complex. Carla,
Hello,
how are you?
I'm good. How's everybody here tonight?
Good. How are you?
Good. So I was asked to be a part of this committee to make a recommendation in regard to the event center and the recreation program. In the committee, I thought I'd give you a list of the people that participated in the committee. It was had a really good representation of people across the board. Chief George Dingfelder was the chairman of the committee. Gary Wilkinson, Brooke Gallegos, Greg Jones, Kellen Ross, Larry Brown, Chris Lopez, Michael Medina, Stephanie was at every meeting, and then Jaime Hurtado, and then now Durbin came to our meeting. And so we had a series of meetings for several months and had a lot of discussion about what happens in the event center and how to try to find a really good balance with the events and with recreation. We want a good balance. And we had a lot of good discussion, and one of the biggest barriers that we saw is that floor, the gym floor that was put down. And so we actually even took extra time so that the city could go ahead and get that floor put down, see what it was like, see how much time it took, see what it looked like when it was done. And what we found is it takes a lot of manpower to get that done. It took 10 people 20 hours to put it together. That was about $3,400 worth of labor to put that court together. And then it takes 6 people 10 hours to take it apart. That was $1,020 of labor each time you take the court apart. Each panel weighs 180 pounds, so that's a lot of weight. And I think what they found is after they did all the work to put those together and tear it down, like, those guys are done and they don't walk very good for a few days. It's very labor intensive, which I think is a risk. The other thing that's if we keep this court, that's gonna have to happen is there's no transition from the court to the floor. So that court was probably about 4 inches. And so you have to have some kind of a transition to go from the court down to the floor. The other thing is those courts, I mean, they're almost wall to wall when they're put up. I'm sure you all were able to go and look at them. And then the hoops that came are super unwieldy to deal with. They're big, they're heavy, they take up a lot of storage space, and then this court itself takes up almost all the storage space. There's not much storage space left after the court's been taken down. So we're looking for a way to try to maximize the use of the building and not have any limitations. And that big floor, which was an NCAA approved floor, which is probably more than we need, seems to be a big limitation to being able to use this building effectively. So we decided to explore, what if we sell this floor? Because it's a really nice floor, and it's really meant to be in a really nice big event center with a lot of things happening. If we did check with the manufacturer, and they're thinking that we could get anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000 for the courts. There's an interest in somebody buying the courts. And then we've also looked at buying a rubberized synthetic court that's going to be easier to put together, easier to tear down, not near as heavy, less risk of injury to the staff and volunteers, because this is probably going to be we're going to be relying on a lot of volunteer help, I think, in a lot of cases for these rec programs to get this put together. So got to think of the risk of that. It's going to take up way less storage space. The material is the official court service for FIBA 3x3 play. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Somebody else is going to have to explain that. But this is a floor that they use for like state volleyball. There's a lot of different events that they use this synthetic material that it seems to be more commonly used. I think this floor that got purchased is really for something that would go into like a Denver event, like the Pepsi Center. It's similar to that. We're estimating that we could get the floor and the hoops for about $90,000. We really do believe that we can sell that court and not have to come up with more money. We also have the basketball hoops that we can get sold, we believe. The volleyball nets that came, they've never been opened, so we're hoping we can just return those and get our money back on those. We do believe that if we don't get that sold, if we try to continue to use this floor, what's going to happen is it's going to be in storage a lot, because it's either going to be out a lot and it's going to limit the use of the event center, or it's going to be in storage a lot and not be used. And so that doesn't really give us a good balance of trying to use this for recreation programs and an event center. So, and I also have, I think I wanted to point out to Larry Brown, he was a part of our committee, and I think he gave you guys all, you have a copy of this email. We had a meeting on Monday, and we all talked this through, and I think it was, not everybody that I just listed that's on the committee was there on Monday, but everybody that was in the room all agreed that it was our recommendation to sell that floor and buy something that's more conducive to the use of the building.
So, Carla, the price that you have on each floor, is that per floor, or is that like the whole thing?
Well, it could be, $50,000 to $75,000 for court. That's, it could be $100,000 up to $150,000. So, and so if we got to spend $90,000 to replace it, we have $10,000 extra if we sell it on the low end, and we've got, $60,000 extra if we sell it on the high end. I mean, the truth of the matter is, we're not going to get 100% of what we paid for that floor, but it's like 60% of what we paid for it. But when you look at the cost of trying to keep that thing going, and then the limitation of being able to use the building, what we lose, I think, is gonna be made up fast. If we keep that floor, it's just gonna cost and continue to cost. And so while the floor is in good shape and not being used, it just seems like this is a good time to sell it.
The synthetic rubberized floor you're talking about, is it readily available, or have you guys checked into that already?
We have, and I know Durbin and Stephanie, Durbin, do you wanna come and talk? Durbin, has a lot of experience with that, so it's really good to have him at the meeting because he could talk about the putting it together and the tear down and the labor behind it. And then Durbin's done some shopping to see what it would take, so Durbin would be a good person to talk about this part of it.
The synthetic floor would be one person could put that floor together, both floors together, as far as manpower goes. We have used it before at the college for the volleyball tournaments. We used to use the bubble and that, and they'd set up like 6 courts in there, diving, everything, and that the floor is just fine. So it's a great floor, and like I said, the FIFA is the 3-on-3 basketball, and it's an international tournament, and they use that in their international tournament to play on. So the floor is great, and that works very well, very easy. Take down, set up, and that, like I said, one person actually can take the synthetic floors down and set them up.
So you were talking about storage, and we all know about that. Or I think most of us do. There's so much room for the floor we have now. What's the footprint of that?
These are tiles, so the tiles we can stack higher as well, so it's not going to take up half the storage room that's going to take up now. And depending on what happens or what's going on with it, and that these floors can actually stay down, and they're not going to be damaged by the use of the rentals and whatnot there. So
So we can put it down and then be able to leave it there for.
Well, it's
certain
gonna be
days?
more durable from what I understand, that NCAA floor, that's a super nice floor. And we all grew up with nice gym floors, and you're not supposed to ever walk across one. And so I think for certain events, it would maybe be okay to keep this floor up, whereas that other, we would have, so one of the things that we did talk about as far as a solution is, well, if we were to keep this floor, then we need to buy, if we're gonna leave it down, then you gotta buy a cover for the floor. And so, if we were to buy the transition, those transition pieces are about $20,000 to $35,000 more that would have to be spent to keep the floor that we've got. Plus, you'd have to buy a cover, but you're limited on your use of the event center because all the plug-ins are underneath the floor. So for most events that we have, you've got to have access to those plug-ins. But there could be times where this floor is down and it's going to be durable and not as subject to being scratched up as the wood would be. So some events you could probably get by with just leaving that floor up for some events.
and you don't have to pull up one tile for the
Plug-ins?
plugins, and with the floor too, depending on what what we choose to do, take it all the way down or leave it up. So
Are the tiles replaceable?
yes,
Did you say the tiles were, 1 by 1? 1 foot by 1 foot square?
we don't have that information yet. I think you can get the tiles in different sizes though.
Okay.
Some can be 1 by 1, 2 by 2. Just depends on what we want to do. I know the ones that we used at the college, they were like 1 by 1, so we put the floors down. But it would take us like 3 hours to put 6 different floors down, big volleyball courts.
I wanted to clarify, did I hear you say that one person
Right, one person could handle this and put the floor.
put it down and take it up?
Mm-hmm.
How long do you think it would take, Durbin?
It would take us like, I'd say an hour, if that long, to put 2 to 3 volleyball courts down in the bubbles. So
And how many people were working on that at the time?
there was like 3 of us that were working on it.
So you're not messing around, you're hauling to get it done, but it's doable.
It's very doable.
And everybody can walk when you're done.
Yes. We still had our backs, we still had our knees when we were done. So
Well, I seen the crew after they got done setting up the courts we have. Even the young guys were walking like they will,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I've heard about it from all of them, and they weren't walking well, and wanted to call in sick for the next 3 days, so.
Wow.
I'm afraid that's just the reality of it. It's a beautiful court. You know, the thought behind it was very nice. It's just, I think, more than we need, and it would be a disservice to the whole building to continue on. We looked at a lot of different options, but when it comes down to it, it seems like cut your loss and move on, because this is a long-term decision.
And we have pictures of this that we show you too. These are really nice looking floors as well. The floors look really nice. And we put logos on, have logos painted on them. Volleyball, basketball courts will be painted on the floors as well. So,
So will it be used, can they be volleyball, basketball, and pickleball?
Pickleball.
Mhm.
Pickleball. Got it.
Yes.
Breakdancing? It'll leave some marks.
of course.
Any issues with selling public property, Gene?
I'm sorry?
Any issues with selling public property?
Well, no issues, as long as you go through the statutory or the code provisions there. You
Thanks,
can do it.
Durbin.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It has, provisions in there about the sale, and it's under, some stuff is under the bidding and purchasing policy too, so you just follow that protocol.
Carla, you said you do have, currently you guys have somebody that's interested in them that would take them?
Yes. Stephanie's been in touch with the manufacturer, and they have somebody who's interested in them. You know, it's an awesome floor. It's a beautiful floor for the right purpose, just probably not our purpose.
Is there anything you want to say, Stephanie, since you kind of live over there?
She does.
I do live there. I think Carla covered most of it. Honestly, it's a beautiful fort. We absolutely love it. It's gorgeous, but it's not for our purposes. And I would love to be able to get Durbin over there a little bit more and get our recreation programs going. And the courts that we were looking at as alternates seem to be a better fit for us. We'd be able to continue to do the bigger events that we're doing and still have the time to take down and put up the court when we need to for the rec programs and any tournaments or camps that we have going on.
I believe, Rick, you said that you played on these floors, volleyball, right? And basketball, and the dribbling, the footing, the sliding, all of that stuff is good and safe. If it wasn't, they wouldn't use that at state basketball and volleyball tournaments. But Brooke had the experience of playing on them. I thought I'd like to hear that. Durbin's got the experience of putting them together, putting them down, helping kids play on it. It seems like we had a really good diverse group, and I think that every single person added a lot to our conversation here to go forward with our recommendations. So there was nobody that was just one-sided on anything. The whole group worked together very well. Everybody came from different directions on it, but we all came to a consensus in the end.
Well, like Carla said, it's not something that we did one meeting and okay, we were meeting for months and going over all of our possible options and how can we make this court work, but it's just really not the best fit for us, and so.
I think we started in August or September.
Yeah.
So it took us this long because we wanted to have the time for the city to be able to put the floor together, everybody to be able to take a look at it. I didn't think that we could make a decision without that happening, because you might find out it's way easier than we thought. It was way worse than we thought, actually. I thought, oh, it can't be that bad. Yeah, it was not that easy. So thank you very much for allowing our committee to make our recommendation tonight.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you for tell the committee thank you.
Okay.
Dale, could I add something?
Yes, sir. Please, because you're on that committee as well.
I don't know about sir, but I'll approach it from the school capacity because we've been using our facilities, free of charge by the way, for a number of years because we owe this to our youth, first of all. And it's hard. You can't have too many floors around. Right now, for basketball in the district, we have, 10? We have 10 teams. trying to find a practice time just for those, because even just at the middle school, we have 4 different teams. We have an A team, a B team, a C team, and a D team. That's just girls, and then we have the ABC, you know, varsity, JV, and C for the guys and the gals at the high school. We have 3 courts available, but getting those times around school hours and those things, and working with the rec, that's really hard. So it's a need for our community, for our youth, and we know that the more that we have available for our youth, the better in many capacities. As I told the committee, George will attribute to when we get kids busy with positive activities, his job's easier. You know, so just from the school standpoint, I mean, those facilities are still going to be available because there's still going to be events and all of that, but it would reduce the stress and aid our rec programs tremendously.
Gary, question on that, we do this and get this all done, does that open it up for Monty to be able to host more events, like basketball tournaments, volleyball tournaments?
It would depend on that, because you gotta have the stands, which of course is another type of thing, and certain regulations and that stuff, but certainly for, say, money-making projects, a summer volleyball tournament, those kinds of things that would be beneficial to the community as well, because you bring in 20 teams from outside and they stay here, they spend some money, they eat some, and all those things. But as far as sanctioned tournaments, probably not. There was one year that we were able to host the small school tournament in our gymnasium, because Science Fair had Adam State, and you know, so we'd have more capabilities of that, because you wouldn't have as many teams to work around. But
And just to touch on that too, I did meet with the athletic director over at the high school, Greg and Scott, and having 5 floors rather than just 3 does bring in those outside teams as well, to where we can host team basketball camps, team volleyball camps, and that relieves some of the college, and some of those teams would come here with 5 courts rather than just 3. So a lot more teams, opens up the hotels, everything, and that. So we did meet and talk about that already, basketball camps and volleyball camps, and Stephanie's already sent some dates that we could host those different things too. So
we have a lot of upside. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
it was really important for me to have the diversity in this group, that this committee itself. And so I want to thank all of the members, because we had a couple of moms who have children in the program itself, and so they're active within the schools. We had representatives specifically from the school districts. Gary served both school district as well as the Chamber of Commerce. Carla representing business as well as the Stampede Committee. We threw in a couple people that served as a kind of a devil's advocate, because they want to see the success of the building, but they have no skin in the game as far as thinking about how the building's really used. And so I was really pleased with the amount of time and thoughtfulness that they put into this, and to collectively come up with a recommendation for you, because this has been tough. And I stayed out of it.
Does anybody know a time frame of if they do all this and order the new flooring, what the time frame is?
he's gonna get back to us regarding that time frame. We are asking for some samples for the floor, so he's going to get back to us, because we finally got hold of him 2 days ago, and now he's been really responsive, getting us the information, whatnot, pictures. So he is sending out us some samples of the floors.
And Jordan, that was a Colorado company, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
It's out of
Colorado.
Broomfield, Colorado.
Yeah, it was a Colorado company. I thought that was positive also.
And is there a limit on the time frame that we have to say, hey, we want to get rid of this floor, if that company can help us move the flooring we have?
With selling the current flooring, I'd say the sooner the better. Just because if they're in the same boat as us, they're trying to get that court as quickly as they can. I would hope that we'd be able to come to a conclusion by February so that we can get that going. If January possible, but.
And the other challenge we have with the building itself is that we have not made any purchases or even talked about stadium type seating that could be rolled out. And with the 2 current floors that we have, there's no space to put any seating in there. And so if we did have a 2-game or 6 games of volleyball or something going on at one time, the bystanders and the participants would just be standing around the sides watching it happen. And so having things a little bit smaller and a little bit more flexible, we'll be able to eventually buy some seating that can, kind of organ itself out and have bleachers and that sort of thing.
Anybody else have any more questions?
How thick is that new flooring? Did they tell you?
They didn't say how big it was, but I know the ones that we used before were about that thick, not so. But I believe it goes a little bit higher too. It depends on what you want to order, what you want.
Okay, and for my staff, you need to come back to the microphone because when this is being taped and will be put out on YouTube, and so just so that those listening in can catch Stephanie and Dervin's voices.
Thank you.
I feel like I've already done my report now. It's about a 1x1, and you can get it in different sizes. But you can get it like 2x2, 3x3, what you order, and that they build it to order or build it to what you want. And it's probably about an inch thick, and I believe it can go up to like 2 or 3 inches high as well. So.
Any other questions?
The decision to sell the floor and the decision on which new floor to buy are 2 completely separate decisions, correct? I mean, they are dependent upon one or the other.
Yes.
We can't decide which floor to buy yet because we don't have the samples and we don't have the, but if we have someone interested,
So we can still sell.
just do the sell part tonight?
Well, and Stephanie had, when she first reached out to the manufacturers, they said, no way, not interested. Well, they have since called her back and said, well, we actually do have some people that would be interested in purchasing. And so we don't want, whether that comes regularly or this is kind of a good luck falling on Monte Vista, we don't have, I don't think, a real big time frame in order to make sure that we get it sold. And of course, the longer we have it, people are gonna say, what's wrong with it, or how come you haven't used it? The basketball court, the basketball hoops have to be sold with the courts because they were designed specifically with how they're screwed into the court itself. So it's a package deal. It's kind of all or nothing.
Now, who would be handling that negotiation, you or Stephanie?
I would probably seek other people besides just Stephanie and Dervin to make sure we got, Dervin brings a great deal of experience with negotiating with salesmen.
Okay.
And so,
So I just want to know who's going to be the final person to sign off on it.
I would be,
Okay.
as long as you all give me the authority to do that.
So did you guys say that we were gonna be selling the floor for maybe 50% of what we purchased it for?
If we can get on the high side, it would be about 50%, yeah. And when we first brought up the idea of looking at selling it, I thought, oh, we're gonna be lucky if we get 30 cents on the dollar,
How
so.
much did we pay for that court?
We paid is $300,000, that was including freight. And so if on the high side, we get the 150, that's right at 50%. Yeah. It's a big
pretty
haircut.
loss.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah, it's just, I think what drove our decision to make this recommendation is the fact that it's a really great floor that may not get used very much. And if it does get used quite a lot, it's gonna limit the events that we can have in there. It's just gonna be a big limitation on the use of the building.
Stephanie, how has the floor limited your scheduling and the access to the building as of today?
Absolutely. So, in the beginning, we hadn't quite really decided how we were gonna really incorporate the rec events with our other events, and this year kind of took off without us really realizing we were there, and we were there. So unfortunately, we've only put the court together once because it took so much manpower and so much time to do. We were waiting on the basketball hoops and the volleyball nets, which is why we hadn't used it in the beginning. We had the courts, but we didn't have any of the equipment to function with it. So we didn't even get the basketball hoops and the nets until August when we put it together for the first time. So since then, we just kind of put it back in storage because we didn't really have the manpower to continue to put it together.
So from the very initial, you kind of were like, this is a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, it also, the other challenge with it is that where our kitchen, the warming kitchen is, so if we have the basketball set up, and we have an event, and we don't purchase some sort of a cover to have just street shoes or ladies' high heels walking across it, we're gonna damage the top of it. And so if you say, okay, let's just put up one court and you can hold events and keep people off of the court. Then the court is either between the west end doors and where the food is, or you block off the west end doors and you make everyone come through the east side to be able to use the eastern side of the event center. And so it's just kind of logistically challenging when you're putting people in street shoes with that sort of a court. And if you decide that you choose that we want to continue to keep it, then the decision's going to have to be made to, from what time period do we go ahead and just leave it set up, strict our basketball season into that time frame, and then not have any weekend events that would be in the event side, because it's too hard to keep the people off of it. And Stephanie, and I told her, we've got to get a decision made on this sooner than later, because she's booking into 2023, into the weekends now. And so, and we all agree and understand that there's gotta be more flexibility in this, and the opportunity to use the facility with some recreational activities attached with it.
I'm just like cringing at the fact that we're taking a big chunk out of it, but if in the long run it's gonna be utilized better for our citizens.
And to kind of talk a little bit more about our events, just what we have currently that we need the event center for without a court in the way is we have Ag Conference in February, we have Crane Fest in March, and I have every single weekend in April booked for an event in there already this year. And that's our main basketball season right there, where we need the flexibility to be able to put that court down and pick it up quickly, as opposed to, okay, we gotta block off 2 days to put it down, a whole day to pick it back up, and you get a couple hours on the court. Good luck.
So I'm not sure if I heard already or not, but if we go through a purchase, I think, did somebody say is that inventory available? Like the courts, the hoops, all that stuff?
The courts would be coming out of Oklahoma City. but I believe there is inventory that is available, or the quotes can be made pretty quickly. So, and look at these tiles here on the carpet tiles, Matt, that's the size of the smallest tile, I believe, but we can get larger tiles.
Yeah, I'm an accountant, so I feel your pain when I look at the fact that we're gonna have to eat some. I don't like that either. But I look at the future cost of trying to, of the loss of use of the building, or as far as recreation, which hurts our youth, or the loss of events, which hurts our economy, and I'm afraid that's gonna multiply out and be a whole lot more in the end. The risk of injury, the risk of workman's comp claims, or risk of injury to volunteers, or the fact that we might not even be able to come up with a crew to put it together or put it down. You know, it's gotta be pretty easy, or else it's not gonna happen very often. And so right now, if we do keep this floor, you know, we've gotta spend another $20,000 to $35,000 to have that transition. We can't even really use them the way they are right now. Somebody's gonna twist an ankle on the low end, or break a leg on the high end. So there's more money that's gonna have to be spent to use it. And then, you know, of course, the cost of putting it together and tearing it down is gonna add up pretty fast. So it is a big gap, but I would say in a few short years, we're gonna close that gap fast. And it's kinda like, well, it's a mistake. Do you continue down that road, or do you correct the mistake and move on?
I'm sorry.
Excuse me, thank you.
No, you're fine. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'd move that we go ahead and authorize the sale of it with Gigi having the final.
Speak up to your mic.
Oh.
Please.
Okay, I didn't realize I was so far away from it. I move that we go ahead and authorize the sale of the basketball floor with Gigi being the final signature on whatever deal is made, with her using the advice from her staff and the Sky High Committee.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to go ahead and allow the sale of the existing basketball courts, with Gigi, city manager, to finalize a signature on that, with the consulting of the Sky High Committee staff and the staff itself. Is there any more discussion?
And following the policies of the charter.
Yes.
Excuse me?
And following the policies of the charter.
Of course.
Yes.
So do I need to amend my motion?
What's that?
Do I need to amend my motion? Okay.
No.
You can accept it as a friendly amendment.
Accept it as what?
A friendly amendment?
I accept Councilor Jason Lorenz's friendly amendment to go with my motion.
Is there any more discussion? Anita?
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to authorize the sale of the current basketball courts and allowing city manager to sign the contract, consulting with the committee and staff, and to follow the code.
Very good. Make sure they pay the freight.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and again, I wanna thank the committee and just their, you know, we've got 3 members of, our community as part of this. A 4th sent the letter. We've got 2 of the staff. They've worked hard on this, and I really appreciate their time, so thank you guys.
Yes, very much.
Thank you.
And you'll start to bring in bids for us on the new floor?
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of have that envisioned with the little kitty tiles that are little.
That's kind of what it is.
That's kind of what that's when they were describing it. That's
That is what it is, but it looks much better and it's much nicer.
well, I understand. I used to have that in my living room floor quite a bit, so that's what I was seeing in my head as he was describing it. only on a larger scale.
Let's go ahead with the 1 cent annual report.
Moving on into that, Mayor and Councilman, the 1 Cent Committee met last night and reviewed the annual report we compiled for the year ending 2021. So it's actually, and we gave you a copy, and we put a couple of copies on the credenza back there for the public to pick up. And it actually includes information for the years 2020 and 2021. Just gives a brief summary of the 1 Cent Committee and the ballot and the municipal code, and then on the back side, it shows some of the highlights of each program: Police Department, Public Works, Sky High Complex, and expenses and revenue in a glance. And we just wanted to let you know that we'll distribute this flyer. We'll put it on the website. We'll put some copies in the library, maybe in the chamber, and any other physical place you might think of that you would prefer to have it. Any questions?
If they have no questions, you can sit down.
Does anybody have any questions?
Nothing's on her God, she just stands there.
And then,
Because if you make me stand here very long, I'll probably start crying or
Because she's
something.
super comfortable there.
What'd you say?
I said, because you're super comfortable there, so
I
if
know,
you just stay
right?
quiet, then you get to stay.
All right.
well, and then council, you know, a few meetings ago, you approved 2 new members to this, and the day before this meeting, we had another member, Kathleen Kruger, resigned. So we do have another opening now that we're gonna have to advertise to fill another seat. And they only meet once a quarter, so it's not a lot of time, and hopefully we'll get some folks that wanna be interested in.
When will you go out with that information?
You know, right now it's gonna just kinda get lost, I think, with the kind of holiday stuff going on, so we'll send it out right after the first of the year.
Okay.
And thanks, Anita,
Okay.
for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anita.
Thank you, Anita. All right. Discussions on letters of interest for empty council seats.
Good evening, Council. Before you is the gray folder, and it's got 3 letters of interest from citizens of Monte Vista who are interested in the vacant seat. Just a little bit of background, you have one from Mr. Lauren Howard, one from Michelle Bradford, and one from Mark Gonzalez. It's at your discretion. I will just let you know that Michelle Bradford has only been a resident of the city of Monte Vista for almost a year, not quite a year, which would disqualify her for taking that seat. And then Mark Gonzalez, there is an employee that is related to him that works for the city. So that's something that council would have to discuss amongst yourselves.
At what point will she reside in the city for a year?
In June. March.
March.
Oh, March, sorry.
Put 'em in order, but-
No, there was no order to it.
Oh, okay.
She, Michelle
Uh-huh.
will be a resident for a year in March.
In March. And you're supposed to be a resident for 1 year or 2 years? One.
Year.
Oh, okay.
And the employee that we have employed for the city that is related to Mark is Nate.
Correct.
And how long has he been employed with us?
Since June.
June.
Since June.
Sorry.
Okay, and is there any speculation about why that can't happen? Yes.
So it's in our employee handbook. I can read the excerpt if you'd like me to.
Yes, please.
No relative of city council or appointed officials may work for the city of Monte Vista. However, if an employee has been working for the city for at least 1 year and a relative is elected to city council or becomes an appointed official, the employee will be allowed to continue his or her employment with the city. For purpose of this guideline, an employee's relative includes their spouse, domestic partner, children, stepchildren, parents, siblings, grandchildren, grandparents, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, daughter-in-law, son-in-law, and the parents, children, or siblings of the employee's spouse. So basically, no relative of city council or appointed officials may work for the city of Monte Vista. You bet.
Well, we have all three candidates here. Do you guys wanna ask any questions to them while they're, I think we should, since they're here.
I think it'd be more appropriate to do it individually if we're gonna do that.
I agree.
Work session.
Have a work session and do it, so they get we can talk to them.
A good set time aside for each one.
Yeah.
We didn't have a lot of information as far as when it was put out, so, maybe due to the fact that they were here, at least we could ask them to
Yeah,
tell us
they
a little bit
definitely-
about themselves,
Well,
so.
So we did get letters, but if you guys don't mind just coming up and speaking into the microphones, that way the citizens of Monte Vista can also take part in your interest. if you don't mind. So
Michelle, would you be the first one, please?
I am Michelle Bradford. I live 245 Tyndall, just behind the Love's. It's, I guess the recent one that was kind of in the news a while back. I am in the process of trying to purchase it. I've only been here 4 years in the state for 4 years. Moved here from Texas. I started off in Canales County and sold my property there to move here. Not a lot of jobs in the area, so we came here. I have 2 children that work for Sonic and one that works for Love's. I currently work for Canales County, administrative assistant, but it's turned into other things. I spend most of my time in planning and zoning and road and bridge. So I have, it was new for me when I came here. I came here as a dental assistant first, so I had to change careers and really enjoy planning and zoning. It's been my baby. I love doing it. Really interested. Government works different from where I come from, so I've enjoyed learning it. And March we will be here a year. We'd only been here a few weeks when the fire happened, so we were a little devastated and we just got here, just sold our place. We owned a lot in Romeo and sold it to move here. So, but I was on the board for Canales County Housing Authority, and I was on the town board for Romeo. And had to put in my resignation when we moved here. And really enjoyed it. I was really sad about it. I loved both of the boards quite a bit. So I am looking to continue that. I enjoy being on boards. I actually do Board of Adjustments, Planning Commission, and County Commissioners with Canales County as well. I don't know if I'll ever leave employment there for something closer, so I do commute about an hour for me all the way to Canales. I don't know if I'll ever leave it. I quite enjoy it, but we're making a home here, and my kids love it here, and so we're gonna do what we can to continue to live here and make it better for all of us. Really enjoy it here, so.
Good.
Questions from me?
No, I don't have any questions, cause I think we'll have
we'll have
a session
questions.
and then we'll have.
Okay.
So just more so wanted you to introduce yourself and give us a little background. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, we look forward to visiting with you soon.
Mr. Howard?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, councilors. See, what can I tell you? I've lived in Monte Vista at 45 Benham Street for a little over 11 years. Currently work for the Semis Valley Road Cooperative. Finally retire for the third time early next year. But I've been interested in city council for some time, but given my work in the past where I currently work, it's been difficult to do that, so I backed away from that. Currently on the planning commission, as you all know. So as you know in my letter, I had a little trepidation from getting appointed to to the planning commission and then saying, well, gee, maybe I would like to be on city council. But I think that was my interest years ago in doing that. Background, if you have an opportunity to ask me lots of questions. See, I worked for a city for 25 years in their public works department in Holland, Michigan. I've worked for it wasn't the Colorado Department of Highways in the past. It was now CDOT, Department of Highways, when I worked for them. See, what else can I tell you about me? You have an opportunity to ask me lots of questions privately, I guess. I'm an engineer, registered engineer in the state of Colorado. My wife and I are going to stay in Monte Vista. I think that's fairly obvious from where y'all know I live. So, thanks for the time. Thanks for the consideration.
Thank you, sir.
Look
Thank
forward
you,
to
sir.
seeing you soon.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, my name is Mark Gonzalez. Thank you, Nita, for calling me. I just walked out of a meeting when you called. Thank you, Mayor, City Council. And continue to do what you guys are doing. You guys are awesome by praying. And that's going to take Monte Vista ahead. And I thought this was going to, sorry. I thought this was going to happen about my son. And he likes looking for you. I wasn't sure. Well, I was born and raised, and I was born in this place, City Hall, many years ago. The manager for solid waste and for the recycling center for the city almost for 29 years. So, but thank you for calling me up and calling me. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mark.
you, Mark.
Appreciate you guys' time this evening.
Definitely appreciate your consideration. That's awesome. Thank you guys.
You wanna get on the one sit committee?
Cool. Let's go let them get through this process before we start sending them somewhere.
We will move on to staff proposals and reports.
Well, Mr. Mayor, if you guys wanna set a time then, while you've got all three of them here to
We want
schedule.
a time and a date for a
Schedule a
work
date.
session. And then we can have them come in. What's the city schedule for next week? Not next week, I'm sorry. Well,
What's wrong
we
with
could.
next week?
Next week is fine.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize they were that far in the month.
The following week will be tougher, but next week works.
I bet nobody's working or anything on the afternoon of the 25th.
Well, that's a Sunday, so generally no one does.
I bet everybody here has a day off.
So just so that you're aware, the city is closed both Thursday, Friday, and Monday because of the way the holiday falls and the holiday schedule you all had already approved.
So the 22nd, 23rd, and 26th.
Are out.
Are out.
So what about the 28th?
How does that look on
That
everybody?
works for you guys? Wednesday?
The 28th?
Wanna do,
Cool with me?
what time do we work, 5:30?
That would be.
You guys okay with that?
Excuse me,
Yes, sir?
not disrespecting or nothing, but if we're not eligible, why do we gotta be in this meeting? Because if you have to be more than a year,
That's a good question.
Yep.
and then
Wow, that makes
my
sense.
son's working, and he loves his job, you know, so why do we gotta, we have a candidate that's willing to do it.
That makes a lot of sense, and
That's-
I'm thankful that you asked it because I didn't know how to say it tactfully.
Well, respectfully, to give the interview is what we would normally do, but you make a very valid point. So that doesn't leave it open for, I mean, Mr. Howard, if that's the choice, would be filling a seat until,
The end of
Okay.
2023,
2023,
just until
So,
December 31st.
till that, and then
For a year?
for a year, so there's still that
Then there'll be two
availability
seats
to.
open.
And then after
Right.
that year, she would become eligible for that seat. Loren could run again if he chooses to. So,
And you would be
if
eligible that
that's
time
honestly,
too. Yeah, you would be eligible at that point too. Because at that point, your relative will have worked here more than a year.
So I'm willing to go on to 1%.
What? I'm
but,
sorry?
but that still, you know, like Mark, that still does allow you though to still work with the 1%, but that would also make you eligible in a year. Because
Yeah.
he'd be in here for 18 months.
Well, I'm willing to take the 1%, you know, be on that 1%.
Well, that's definitely
Also
something
makes
we need,
a-
so respectfully,
Also makes an opening
So-
on planning and zoning.
we could just,
I would just jump and make a motion to have Loren Howard fill the vacant council seat.
Second.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded, based on conversation, thank you, to, go ahead and appoint Lauren Howard to the vacant seat. Is there any more discussion? Anita?
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to appoint Lauren Howard to the vacant council seat, which will begin on January
Fifth,
5th.
right?
Congratulations.
Made it come up right now.
When y'all dropped me up here about
I'll be in
that.
town on the 5th, sounds really bad.
Well, you should come sit right now.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say, the night that I was
You
appointed,
got your swearing?
I was brought up right then, just
You can swear him in.
right now. I didn't have a,
You can swear him
Swear
in
him
now.
in.
I
Let's swear him
can,
in.
give me just a second.
This is happening.
Mr. Howard,
Yes?
we will ask you to come forward.
This is your last chance to run.
it's too late now.
There will be an opening.
Who is going to swear him in?
Well, I won't be.
Can I have the information?
Just for what it's worth.
Mr. Howard, if you'll raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I, Lauren Howard.
I, Lauren
solemnly
Howard.
swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Colorado
and the Constitution of the State of Colorado
and the Charter and Ordinance of the City of Monte Vista,
and the Charter and Ordinance of the City of Monte Vista,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the office of counselor which I am about to enter.
and I will faithfully perform the duties of the counselor of the office of which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
And so help me God.
So,
So help me God.
That's it.
Thank you, council.
Dale's so glad to have somebody between me and him again.
Mark,
He won't say it, but I know
thank
he
you very
is.
much for your interest in the seat. It really does mean a lot that you guys put in the letter, so thank you very much.
Yes. And he's gonna be on the 1 cent committee?
Yes.
He'll put in for that. And thank you, as Victor said, we really appreciate that, but don't let that stop you from coming forward anymore. That, I really, really appreciate that.
In fact, there are a lot of committees within the city and with some of our nonprofits that really need some help. Because now we have an opening on planning and zoning, correct? That just opened up. 1 cent committee.
A few minutes ago.
Yeah, just you
I
know.
think I just heard somebody saying that.
Yeah, that seat's not even cold yet. That's not even.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Would the information be on the website, to find out, who all has open seats?
I believe so, right?
I believe so. I
just
mean, it wouldn't
came
have
open
tonight's
tonight, so
update on it yet,
It's
but
all coming together.
And we have
Not that
couple other
instant.
boards that have openings too, and I can send you that information, and as well, it is on the website.
Okay.
Now we can go on to staff proposals and reports.
Who's this guy over here? Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Planning, who's presenting?
That's
for
me.
Mr. Inwood. Yep.
So DJ couldn't be here tonight. He is meeting with his commander and officially getting his plaque recognizing his retirement from the Army. So I said I would do his report. So congratulations to DJ. And lucky us that he joined us. So some of the projects that he's been working on, he was bouncing off the walls. The first grant he applied for, he got. It's for $90,000 to revise the land use code, specifically looking at the housing portion of our land use code. An RFP was published, and then an RFP, because of the grant, was published this week and distributed on multiple platforms that we will bring to you later once it closes in February. And he has already received 3 letters of interest that they were going to submit a proposal to him. So he's pretty excited about that, and I am too. Recently we located the historical land use documents that have been here in the building in storage, and he's been working on digitizing, cataloging, and organizing the historical land use documents that have just been in boxes. So once complete, this will enable us to quickly access information on every property when it was required for staff evaluation or staff work. So that's a big undertaking that we're really glad he's taken on. Work continues with the Wildham Consultants on our energy and water audit. In November, they performed a site visit to all of our facilities, and we have provided them with all the data they needed to complete their evaluation. We expect them to come back with suggestions and proposals at the beginning of January. Next week, Planning and Zoning Commission will conduct the final review of the revised sign code and our 3-mile plan.
Can I still go there?
Yeah, you haven't resigned yet, so.
What, can I still go?
Oh yeah, absolutely, you can still go. So they've worked very hard. I'm really proud of the Planning Commission and what they did get done on this, that it ensures our future needs for the city, and plan to have it before you, hopefully on January the 5th. So that's when you do need to be there, Councilman Lord Howard. I'm currently working on 3 grants which will be funded, which will, if funded, provide fencing for some of our critical infrastructure. One is back here in our police department so that our police vehicles are kept safer, and then some security fencing that'll look nice out at Sky High Park. And so that fencing will be closer to around the entrance area. If you remember, it's during Stampede time how they had orange fencing to kind of be able to corral people through. And so we're looking at some, a grant that may help us with that. And then he's just been doing normal daily land use and zoning questions, meeting with some folks that have come in. We did get the official documents from O'Reilly's Auto Parts. They're planning on closing on their property in February, and so we've got all of that to go through and review for their potential construction in early summer.
And that's in city limits?
Uh-huh. Sure is.
Awesome.
It'll be in North Broadway, north of Dairy Queen, that vacant lot right before the railroad tracks. That property owned by Mr. Shank.
So it's right past that, like right before the train tracks, right after that little house or building.
Like our pump station.
Wow. So are they gonna move some of the carts out of there?
Yeah, supposedly we're gonna get those cars moved out of there.
Very good. Thank you.
Good stuff.
Kids Connection. Nika? Just can't get enough of the kids.
Sometimes I can. I was telling Rob, good evening guys, I was telling Rob earlier, I had, he is a 5th grader.
Was he speaking?
Yeah, he's a 5th grader. And he's one of my wrestlers. I'm really good friends with the parents, and Dad was is out of commission for a little while, and he really wanted to go watch his older brother wrestle. And I had to go to the home duel. I was all by myself because my husband couldn't get off. My older son was like, nope, not going tonight. And so he heard I was going, and he was like, hey, can I go with you? And I was like, sure, why not? Took him over to the high school. We watched the first home duel. And then he's volunteered himself to go with me to every tournament since then. I'm just like, dude, it's not happening. This weekend we go out of town for the weekend. He's like, I already told my dad, I'm going with you. What time are you picking me up? And I was like, it's not happening, dude, I'm sorry. I don't think I'll survive the car ride or the entire weekend. Sometimes I barely survive after school with him. But he's an amazing little guy. I'll still love him the next day. So I don't have much of an update for you guys. Kids Connection is, we have one more week of school. We are closed next Thursday for the way that the holiday schedules fall. Closed on Monday. We're open Tuesday through Thursday, the 2 weeks that kids are out of school. And then we're open back up on I believe it's the 10th of January when they go back into school. So we have 3 days next week, and then we're on spring break. So 3 long 10-hour days, but it'll be fun because we already have lots of arts and crafts and activities and stuff scheduled for those 2 weeks. So really, other than that, that's all we've been focusing on, just trying to survive the last of 2022 and look forward to the positivity that 2023 is going to bring us. So you guys have any questions for me?
You guys do a great job.
You did a fantastic job.
Thank you. We try. That's all we can do.
So appreciate you and what you do, what Kids Connection does. Your staff members, everybody, thank you.
My staff are amazing. I say it over and over again, the program wouldn't be what it is without them because they put in 110% at all times.
Well, whenever I'm driving down around and I see y'all with your little ducks behind you, that's what I think of when I see you, your little ducks behind you. And I always think, wow, where would those children be if they weren't there?
Yeah.
What's the other option? So I'm just grateful for you.
Thank you.
I'm grateful for what y'all do.
Thank you. Okay.
Anybody else?
Good. All right. Good night.
Thank you, Nika.
Thank you.
Sky High.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm the same as Anika. We are trying to survive the end of 2022. We have 3 more days of events, and then we will have completed 28 events in 15 days. So we are very excited for Sunday evening when all of our events for the month are done. We will also be doing a holiday schedule, so we will finish our events on Sunday. We'll be open Monday to kind of clean up and figure out our lives. Tuesday we're going to do a little staff event, and then we will be closed Wednesday through the following Monday. So a nice little break for us to get some sanity back into our lives. We are continuing to work hard to get our events for next year booked. As of right now, I have 81 events booked for 2023. Of that, 14 events are in January, so we get a short little break at the end of December, and then we're jumping right back in to get going. We're almost finished with our construction. They poured cement for the picnic pavilion today. They're painting it tomorrow, and then they have just a couple more touch-ups, and then our picnic pavilion will be ready to go. So we're really excited to get that going and start to focus on what we can do out there and what more events we can have. So that's really all I have for you. We're just surviving each event day by day.
You probably have reported on this before, so catch me up on
absolutely.
how many people, events have you had in this past year?
So I have rough numbers right now. I'll put together a full report from January. My rough numbers right now, we had about 185 events for the year. That equated to roughly 175 days that we had events. Somewhere at the end of November, my numbers were, we had about 45,000 people through Sky High from February through November. So doesn't include our larger events that we've had now in December with those 28 events. So yeah. And next year we'll actually market, advertise, get people going.
Quit slacking, right?
I know. I just didn't quite have the time to market this year. So, yeah.
So there was just something that was brought to my attention during the bazaar that was out there. And maybe just something that we can maybe brainstorm, get some ideas. But they were wondering about signage for parking, you know, because they were like, where do we park?
Yeah.
You know, because they're like, I don't know if we could park over there, then I guess we park there because everybody else is parking, you know? So
absolutely.
That's just one thing that I've kind of heard about it, was like, oh, where do I park? And so anyways.
Absolutely. And it is on our radar. We're working on getting the signage for the building done first, and then we'll get directional signs. That's our second tier, but we wanted to get the signage on the building first. So we have already started that process, and Extreme Graphics will be getting that done shortly. And then directional signage and parking signage is the next on the list. So we will be getting that going.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Any other
I've heard
questions?
a lot of good comments about you and your staff.
Thank you.
A lot
We
of good
appreciate that.
comments, so.
I have a phenomenal staff, and I couldn't do what I do without them. They really do make my life easier and help our events run a lot smoother.
We try not to misbehave too much the other night.
You
Didn't
guys
work
had a
exactly.
fun time.
We tried.
I heard about that.
I think I'm missing out on something here.
Probably better off if you don't know.
Later, when the mic's not on. Mic's there.
Absolutely.
So we appreciate what you're doing out there.
Thank you.
And all the hard work that your team has done to make it where it's more usable. Thank you.
Absolutely.
When you have your days off, get out of the valve, go somewhere.
There's days off.
Yeah, I think you
What's
said you
that?
had a few days off.
Days off?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Are you just gonna turn your phone off, your computer off?
I would love to do that, but my phone is always on for emergency purposes. You never know when Sky High is the emergency shelter. You never know when something's going to happen.
True.
That is very true.
So.
Well, let's just hope that doesn't have to be utilized.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
The best plan for the week.
Mm-hmm.
Recreation, Durham. You can finish your report now.
Is there anything you didn't cover?
Any questions?
So these tiles, they're
That's a good one.
It's like we can run down to Walmart, they're yellow and red and blue and purple.
Only the pretty ones.
All the pretty ones.
Was the court made by Scott Kincaid?
I think so. So currently we are doing, we're taking registration for our kids basketball program. Right now we have 45 kids registered. So we have one team 1st and 2nd grade, 2 teams 3rd and 4th grade, 1 team 5th and 6th grade, and we'll continue registration through the 22nd. We've already met with the high school, the middle school, and that to get practice space, practice times, as well as game times. And that, like I said, they are overbooked right now too, so they're going to be doing some things on Saturday. So we're going to be working around them a little bit. Have early morning games, and that, and may have to skip some time and that to have their game and that, and then come back in the afternoon and that. So having those courts up and running, that will help us out tremendously. Just received, or starting to receive, Rob. I feel like Rob really should be giving this report, but he refused to. $12,000 worth of equipment that has been ordered: football helmets, face masks, chin straps, football pants, Nike speed ladders to help with agility drills, baseball, youth bats. And one of the things that I've heard coming from the different coaches and that we've talked to is that last year equipment was a big thing that had come out of their pocket a lot for equipment and that. So all of that stuff, thanks to Rob and Assistant Trevor, has been ordered for them. So we have plenty of baseballs, softballs, equipment, gear this year, and that to gear our kids up. So looking forward to seeing my first event, or just working with the kids and coaches with basketball season quickly approaching. And I always get a message from Rob and that he's going through and he's cleaning out his emails, and here's another committee that you're on. And so serving on 2 or 3 committees as well too. And then just had a lot of fun learning about Monte Vista, the folks at Monte Vista, and that the programs that we're going to do, and really looking forward to the challenges. And that's all I really have for this report. Any questions?
I appreciate you stepping up, man. I think this is gonna be good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Me too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Farish, City Attorney reports.
Mayor, council, I was hoping the chief was gonna be here tonight, because I wanted to present him with one of those, Police Navidad shirts. First thing that came to mind was that scene out of Christmas Vacation with the police, rappelling into, the residents, and while they were, playing Here Comes Santa Claus. So, Muni Court, we've got 32 cases on the docket for next Wednesday. This is a combination of assaults, traffic, theft, injury to property, harassments, trespassing, criminal or animal cruelty. That one was where a dog fell out of a pickup as it was turning corner. Shoplifting, disorderly conduct, open container, obstructing a peace officer. So pretty typical docket. In fact, it was down a little bit from what we've had in the past. So we'll be going through all those cases in Muni Court next Wednesday. I've given you a memo on plastic bags. You had a passage of a resolution classifying grocery stores as roadside markets, as I recall. It was subject to and conditional legal review. I think there's some problems there of trying to do that classification. The definition of a store was in the materials that I provided to you. And store means a grocery store, supermarket, convenience store, liquor store, dry cleaners, and so forth. Other types of retail establishments at which carry-out bags are traditionally provided to customers, and store specifically includes farmers markets, roadside markets, stands, festivals, and so forth. So I think we find ourselves come and go if we try to exclude anything there. Now, come
So what are
3
the
weeks from
penalties
now.
if we don't enforce this?
What's that?
What are the penalties if we don't enforce this?
Well, the penalties are really, you know, we have to get an enforcement mechanism going for that. If you want to create penalties for this, leaves a lot of things
No,
to.
I mean penalties for the city if we don't enforce this.
Well, if we don't enforce it,
Yeah.
um,
And if you need to do
the
more
way
research,
the way the
that's fine.
statute's set up is that the stores are bound to pay the cities, and then they get to retain. The store gets to retain 4 cents out of every 10 cents that's collected, and they're bound to pay the city. So I think the enforcement is going to really come down from the state if they're not doing that. Now, we can erect our own ordinances too, and we can erect an enforcement mechanism on that. But the
But what
stores
if
are
we
bound
don't?
to do
What
it.
if we choose not to?
I don't think that we are required under the provisions of the statute to create an enforcement mechanism, frankly.
So we can just not put an enforcement mechanism in place.
Yeah, now the question, of course, is, how much would this bring to the city? And I had a discussion with Scott Lujan over at Top Value about this, and he was trying to figure out, well, are they subject to it? They're kind of a standalone store out there. But when you look at their structure, they are owned by a grocery, which is called Colorado Groceries Group, and they have Kentucky Bell, they have Rainbow Grocery, Rainbow Express, and Top Value. And they are in turn owned by TC Fuels, so I think that they are bound by this, as well as Safeway. Safeway is obviously bound by it. And so when you look at all that, how much does it bring? Scott estimated about maybe $2,500 a year, something like that.
20,000?
No, 2,500. It's not a great amount.
It's not a great amount, no.
No. So I guess one of the discussions we need to have is the extent to which we want the city involved in the enforcement mechanism and the monitoring mechanism. I think that this money's going to come into the city, but do you want to just sit down with the owners of Safeway or the managers of Safeway and the managers of Top Value and Big R and the C-stores and so forth, and get some kind of understanding about how this is going to work and how it's going to be remitted to us? I think we are probably kind of on somewhat of an honor system with the stores of what they're going to provide to us, because trying to go out there and audit them with all this is going to be pretty challenging, I think.
Well, what if we just decided we didn't want that? I think it's disingenuous that the state calls this a fee. It is frankly a tax.
Yeah.
It's a fine.
And so they sidestep Tabor by calling it a fee.
It's, what they're trying to do, of course, is get rid of plastic bags, and the way they got it set up is next year, come 3 weeks from now, all this is going to start with both plastic and with paper, and 10 cents per bag, and then it gets phased out over a period of a year, and they can get rid of their inventories, and then next year it's only going to be paper. They can get rid of the rest of the plastic bags and sell those, and that's the effort of the whole legislation, is to get rid of plastic bags. And I don't know, frankly, a thought of a lot of things about how this is practically gonna work, because people are gonna be bringing their own bags in and reusable bags and this kind of thing, and I don't know, when you reuse your own bag for groceries and all that kind of thing over a period of time, do you have a health issue there too? So that's a significant
So
issue.
the law doesn't prohibit them from having a bag, it just says you have to collect this tax.
Is it what?
The law doesn't say they're not prohibited from using paper or plastic bags. They just have to have a tax on it, essentially. They can
Well-
still use that, they can still provide them, is that correct?
They can provide them, they can provide them up until, if they're not going to charge, you mean?
No, even if they charge, just, let's say they charge.
No, they can do this on plastic bags all the way up through the end of next year.
And then paper,
And then it's just paper,
but after next year, then does paper phase out?
just paper or your own bags, right?
Right, but does paper ever phase out?
No,
Under the
not
code.
according to this.
Okay.
No, it's still in there.
And there's always gonna be a fine
Except we have to.
on, or
People get
tax,
charged for it.
or whatever other
Yes.
ugly word would be appropriate on those paperbacks.
It's still the 10 cents on the paper bags.
Forever and ever and ever, amen.
Well, until they amend this legislation, yeah.
Right.
And they find out how this is gonna work.
Well, it's
Well,
not gonna work at home, because people are just gonna, I use
I don't know how well that's gonna work, frankly, with the paper bags, how strong those things are gonna be, because, with plastic bags, you can carry a lot in those things. Paper bags, I don't know.
And frankly, that, from my standpoint, that's none of our business. And so my question is what happens to the city if we choose not to enforce this in Monte Vista? And
Well,
the
I'm not-
grocers can decide what they wanna do.
Yeah, I'm not sure that anything really happens to the city, because, it's, the way they look at it, it's a benefit to the city with the amount that they'd be receiving, and if you choose not to collect that, I guess that's a city decision.
I think I'm on the same page with Councilor Lawrence. If the state wants to do this, let the state be responsible for it. If they want to come down here and collect their $2,500 from these businesses, then I don't guess we can stop them. But we sure don't have to help them. And it's not our responsibility. There's been a lot of these orders put out by our governor. And I'm not saying one way or the other whether I like him or not. But I don't like the fact that he puts out mandates, he puts out rules, he puts out liens, taxes, fines, all this kind of crap. And then he expects us or the business owners, or he puts the onus and the responsibility of taking it out. If you're gonna sign something, stand behind it. So I think I'm on the same page with Jason when I say, I don't care. And I don't think we need to even worry about it. I'm sorry, that was a mosquito we just gnatted away.
Well, I think, there's no enforcement mechanism in
No.
the law, is there?
No, I don't think, they allow the
So it's
way
gonna
the
be-
legislation's written, they allow the towns and the cities to even increase the amount.
Okay.
But it's not written the other way, that they're
Right.
gonna be penalized for not collecting the
Right.
amounts
So
themselves.
we're up to the kind of an honor system with the stores, collect the fees and keep 4 cents and give us 6, right?
Right.
It's on the honor system.
I think we just let our business.
Unless we enact an ordinance that is going to set it up as a procedure in the city and accounting for the city.
I don't think that'll happen,
I just think we need to let our constituents know that this is not our bailiwick.
I don't think we need to have it.
Let
Pass an
let the businesses and citizens decide what they want to do.
Pass an
It's
ordinance.
a bag.
The way I see it right now, and for the next year, it would catch all those ones that I mentioned, probably Big R, all the C-stores, grocery stores, and those, any ones that have chains and are providing plastic bags.
Well, if they want to report, they're welcome to. I'm not going to make them do it.
Okay, that's a policy decision from the city.
That's what I'm asking.
I'm just informing you what
If there's
the,
no risk to the city, I mean, if you told me that if we don't do this, we're gonna get fined $50,000, or when we go up for our grant on our wastewater treatment plant, they'll say no grant, you're gonna pay for it, then we can't take that risk. But if there's no penalty in this, then frankly, I make the motion that we don't enforce it as a city. It's up to the businesses. If they collect it, fine. If they don't, fine. That's between them and somebody else. I would make the motion that we do not enforce this as a city.
But Council J, I don't think you have to make a motion to do that. I think you just don't enforce it.
Well,
Because there's nothing in the law saying we have to. So we don't have to take any action to do nothing.
and I think that's
well, I just
right.
want to direct staff to do nothing. And with our city manager, it's hard to direct staff to do nothing.
Well, we don't have a bag monitoring position at the moment, and we're short-staffed already.
Yeah.
So we just don't have the money to hire a bag person.
I think Councilor Howard is probably right, though, the way, the approach. I don't think if you're gonna do that, I don't think you really need to take any action at this point.
Fair enough.
Because
Okay.
there's
Don't
nothing
make it
in the
harder
law
than it
that
has to
says we
be.
have to.
I'm
If
not
there's
saying
nothing in the law that says we have to enforce it,
I-
then, you know.
The
I
only
think
thing
we
I
just-
see in there is a mechanism for increasing it.
But by taking the only thing I'd say, Lauren, is by taking action, that would make it known to our stores that we're not gonna enforce it.
Yeah, we can let them know.
Well, that's just, if we take official position, then we let them know that we're not gonna get.
I think,
On the
I
other
think the
hand, I don't
stores may get the pressure from the state, hey, we're auditing you, where is the money that you're supposed to be paying the city and yourselves?
Do they get audited by the state
Yeah.
on this?
Yeah,
So-
could be.
And that, did you get that email from Gene?
I
about all
did.
that? So, I mean, it was pretty thorough,
Yeah.
and it specifies that this requires the stores to remit carry out bag fee to the finance department or division of equivalent agency of the municipality with which a store is located. If the store is not located within a municipality, the carry out bag fee must be remitted to the finance department or division equivalent agency of the county that the store is located. So they're required to pay it. We're just not gonna force them to do it.
They didn't tell us who was supposed to enforce it. They expected us to know that. I don't know that.
Do you?
And that's my
if they-
story.
If they appear on your doorstep, so to speak, with, a certain amount of money, I don't know what are you gonna tell them?
Well, if they wanna do it voluntarily,
Yeah.
there may be some stores that feel obliged that we need to do this.
That's
Maybe
true.
that's their
That's
store
fine.
policy, right?
Yeah, that's store policy, that's
If that's a
fine.
store policy, then great. Safeway may say, you're gonna do this. The corporate, Safeway may say, you're gonna do this, whether you like it or not.
If it's optional for them, they can wear a mask or not.
And we don't,
Let's not
I
go
think,
there,
I think Lauren's right, we don't really have to take an official position. We can just by word of mouth, when you go to Big R or Co-op or any of the stores, and I'm not gonna name any more. Hey, did you see the council YouTube? You might wanna watch that. And let it go at that,
All right.
just word of mouth.
Carry on, Gene.
Okay, so much for
Finish your
that.
report.
That's also that.
Okay, so I saw some things come around, questions, URA members and so forth about, well, where are we on this whole thing of the URA and what's the history been and so forth. So I prepared a memo and you've got it on your computer, you've seen that. Kind of traces it all the way back to 1988 with its inception. It was pretty active in the first few years, frankly. A lot of things got done. The old hotel got removed. Parking lot was put in. Then you went to Fullenwater Park and the reconfiguration of that, and C-Store, the visitor center, then on to the street lighting program on Adams Street, the reconfiguration of that street, benches, storefronts, etc. So kind of went from that to new legislation that came along when the whole TIF thing got rolling, and the county felt it was getting bitten by that tax and probably the school district and so forth. So there's some new legislation. It gets pretty complex in there. So anyhow, I gave you the whole script of the URA statute. To make a long story short, you got to appoint, the mayor appoints, and the council approves the appointments. 10 members from, I don't think they have to be city residents. 10 members, and the mayor can be a ex officio member, or any council member, I think, could be an ex officio member. And then you've got one from the school district and one from the county, and I think the county has already selected a member on there, and the school district, I assume Gary would be the representative there. So the districts get together, the taxing districts get together, and they select a member. I talked to Laura Concelos. How do you pronounce her name? Kucharis. Okay. And she appreciated getting some information on that and the history and so forth of that. So that's kind of where we are until that thing really gets rolling and moving. They're kind of meeting sporadically right now, I think, and I guess they're going to try to reorganize in January. Other than that, we've been working on a core request some with PD, and Gigi knows about that, response to that. Been doing some review of the sign code, the 3-mile plan, those types of things. And what I'm probably going to go into next now is a little bit of, like I was saying last time, the breakdown of the laws affecting preemption, home rule, things like that, so especially so that the new members can understand how all that works and when there is preemption, when there's not, etc. Tabor issues, things like that you need to kind of get under your belt. And so I'll be giving my attention to that in the next few months and trying to get a memo out to you on that. So that's the kind of things I've been working on. Anybody got any questions? If not? Thank you.
Thank you for
Merry
putting
Christmas.
together all the stuff about the URA. I appreciate that. That was helpful.
Okay.
Thank you for the thoroughness to all this too, Gene. I appreciate
Yes.
that.
Thank you, Mayor.
City manager report. That big old piece of paper.
An hour?
Let's all be
Do
home
we
by
need a
8
10-minute
o'clock.
recess?
So we had a meeting this week with Excel, and Monte Vista, I'm not sure how we got so lucky, but they have chosen us, and they are going to be installing 4 electric vehicle charging stations at the Facet parking lot. They will be fast chargers. They will take care of them. They will keep them operational. There's no cost to the city. And so we're working with them as far as a good location within the parking lot. So that's really exciting. They,
And who was that again?
Excel.
And that's no cost to the city whatsoever.
Nope.
What will that do to the farmers market, Native American market, things like that
it-
use that in the summer?
It will probably take out, it will take out 4 parking spaces that they'll have to, still allow access to.
Are they gonna try to like put those up at the end so that the events can still take place, or are we just gonna find
There'll
it?
be more at the beginning, at the entrance,
Mm-hmm.
right across the street from the chamber building.
Okay. So the events can still happen and safely.
Safely,
Okay.
hopefully, yes.
Okay.
Okay?
Do we know how big those are? I mean, what's the charging rate?
Do you remember, they didn't really talk, Rob, did they, about the charging rate?
But it is a DC fast charger?
You know that? We'd have to look at we can show you the,
I have the plans.
yeah, the plat that they gave us.
Okay.
Because there's a little bit of, we've asked them to go back and redesign where they said these 4 refrigerator size things have to go.
Then it's a DC fast charger.
Okay. And so they wanted them along Highway 160, and we said, no, we don't want them there. So we're gonna put them to the west side of the parking lot along the alleyway. And so we'll probably have to take out both of our planters that are over there, but they will be a lot less noticeable at that location, and then they'll bore under the parking lot to those 4 parking locations.
That's a very good location for while they're letting their cars charge. Here's that too.
Right.
Right here.
Right. So we're excited about that. I wanted to ask you all what you think about as far as people requesting putting monuments in our parks. So a very citizen-minded contributor to our community, Mr. John Patterson, passed away this last week or so. And his daughter has contacted one of the, a friend of his, and they are looking to put some sort of a monument to memorialize him. And they wanted it on city property so that it doesn't disappear one day. And so we don't really have any rules on it one way or another. We do have monuments in some of our parks. I asked if Mr. Patterson was a veteran. He's not, because I thought a nice place might be in the memorial park there. And we do have a memorial for a soldier here in Chapman Park. And I think it's important we look at these things, but I'm also concerned about, you know, do we want to put in some sort of a procedure that, you know, I don't want to say no to Peter, Paul, and Mary and yes to Susie, Dick, and Jane. And yet we don't want our parks to become cemeteries, per se, memorializing people. So I think it's a very honorable thing to want to honor this gentleman, and I think it's maybe important that we help find a location when you want to have something like that, that he's contributed so much to our community.
So the crane he made out in front of Safeway, is that on public property or whose property is that?
Is that ours or CDOT?
That's CPAC, isn't it? Where Hooper is?
The crane is on our property.
Isn't that CPAC?
No, that's us.
That's what?
Us. The island in front of Safeway that you drive around.
That's not to answer your question about putting in a policy, but that would be the appropriate place for it.
That would
Yeah,
be the appropriate, but yes.
But no one would see it. I mean, who would walk up to it and know that it's there?
Why don't we look
That's still the appropriate place for it. Like I said, we don't wanna turn our parks into cemeteries. And John,
That was his crane. I mean, if a person wanted to, they could park in the Safeway parking lot and go over there. But I agree with Jason, that's not, we need to figure something out, cause I agree with you. That we don't wanna turn our parks into just nothing but monuments, so, but I would not be opposed to having something done.
So the crane was his?
he made it.
He made it.
So is there any way that instead of putting another something there, that we could just attach a little plaque to the crane or something?
Well, we wouldn't be doing it.
Or
His
something
family,
like
yeah,
that.
his family would be doing it.
So anyway.
And you don't have to make a decision today, but we need to think about this and because this probably won't be the last time that someone makes that request. And we can do some research and maybe see how some other communities approach this. And
I think that'd be a great idea.
That would be a very
Maybe,
good idea.
maybe look into building some sort of wall, some sort of something.
maybe it's a park bench.
A park bench, maybe the park benches, they could buy park benches with the plaque on them,
So like,
and that would be, yeah,
just thinking like a little name tag, have like a little, like at Dos Rios, they have like a plaque on the wall, and they have like so many members or whatever, and they have like 30 names on a little piece of, you know, like this. It's like just a little name tag basically, and it'll dink.
this
It's
park,
like 50 or
yeah.
something.
Well, that would be something, but like you said, park bench, and they could have it, like if it's one of the marble ones where they engrave whatever they want on it, and then that park bench is put there, cause then it's
Yeah, it's a bench.
useful.
It's a bench.
Yeah, it's a bench, it's not just a stone,
Right.
but
And it can
I
be-
would,
Not Chetland Park, but it's, if you want to do it, put benches around the walking area.
yep,
It could say something as simple as, this is in memory of John,
Patterson.
whoever.
So we'll
a-
bring
a-
back some.
A beautiful member of the Monte Vista community that is truly missed, or something to that effect. But yeah, I like the park bench idea, because honestly, our streets need some more park benches. Anyway,
I think we should.
so we have space for all that.
I think we should advise staff to do some research on that, and then we can make the decision at a later point in time.
Okay.
Let's hope it's a long time before we have enough park benches.
The lobby area is a little cluttered right now. We've been going back out and doing a second sweep at the Forest Service and getting some one man's junk is another man's treasure. And so we've been able to get some staff members some newer desks and some nicer chairs, and I want all the chairs steam cleaned before we get them out and use them, and so we're working on that. That's kind of fun. And I want to thank Public Works because they've spent a lot of time picking up, delivering, hauling. It's been a chore. They even gave us 2 refrigerators. So we were able to upgrade one of our refrigerators here. We put the one that was here out at the ballpark concession stand where they didn't have one, and the other one went out to Sky High. So we're making good use of their things. I was out at Tri-County Senior Citizens today for their little holiday ugly sweater and door decorating contest. And so met with some of those, and they gave a nice compliment to the city because you all increased the donation in our budget for them this next year, and they were very grateful. And sometime, Victor went with me one time, but sometime I'll have to grab one of you guys and we'll just go have lunch with them. They're a bunch of nice folks.
The lunch is so good.
We already mentioned the holiday schedule. We've been meeting with the EPA and their consultant group that is taking charge of the Rural Recreational Economy Grant that we received. Those meetings will kick off, it'll be like a half a day and then a full day, and likely at the end of February. And so that will be something that we will be reaching out to as many, community members that we can to get them to attend, asking what their priorities are as far as recreation goes, not only for our citizens within the community, but what can we offer outside citizens that would bring them into our community. And so it's more of a planning, visionary type of thing to see what we want to do. So we'll be continuing to work towards that. My biggest concern right now is the Valley Theater. I'm gonna be meeting with Carolyn Gonzalez on Monday. She's the one who's been managing it. Right now, she's saying she's gonna give the keys to us on January the 9th. And right now, I don't have a plan, a backup plan. So, the RFP that we have out is out until the 1st of March. And even once you all select somebody, there's still gonna be a couple of months, potentially with no activity until we can get the property then transferred. So if you have any good ideas, I'd love to hear them, and we're trying to figure out what we're gonna do. This Saturday, if you guys don't have anything to do, a very special event takes place out at Home Lake at 10 o'clock. It's laying of the wreaths at all of the headstones. Yeah, it really is really cool. And so there's a little program that they do at the very beginning that's 10 or 15 minutes. I don't know, Jean, you might be there as well this weekend at Home Lake?
At Home Lake?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Wreaths Across America.
Right, on Saturday, I think we're doing that.
Mm-hmm. And then you take a wreath and you go put it in front of one of the tombstones and you thank that soldier for their service. So it's been a little holiday tradition in our house for the last several years. And then finally, since this is the last meeting of our year, I just want to really thank the staff and these beautiful people behind me and those that have already been able to go home tonight. It has just been a real pleasure to work with all of them and to see how much they want to make Monte Vista a better place for all of us. And they've all just given so much time and effort, and we've taken on a lot of different projects. And I'm just very pleased to be part of this team and having you all as leadership and going forward and looking towards a great 2023. So, thank you.
Thank you, Gigi. All right, council, committee, city commission, and council reports. Mr. Lorenz.
First, welcome Lauren. Glad to have you with us. And wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
Mr. Sagala.
I second that. And just want to just thank the citizens of Monte Vista for being who they are. I take pride in living here because of the people that live here. They're friendly people, so if you get a chance, pay it forward. So have a Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you. Martha?
I just kind of want to give a big thank you to our city. I think that we have, and that means city staff, elected officials, and citizens, business owners, everybody, the people of Monte Vista. We have had a year that has seen us face some problems, but we've had a year that has seen us overcome much more. And I am so proud of that. So proud of that. Our city staff, our city elected officials are beginning to, I think, and I have no empirical data, just from what I've experienced while I've lived here, really step up more. We have some organizations in town that have brought new events, that have brought new fundraisers, that have, we have the Laura Foundation here now. This is fantastic. We've had a really good year. And I give a lot of praise to every elected official, every business owner, every waiter, waitress, cashier, every citizen. But I have to give credit to the Father. because I believe that He has guided us through this. And I believe that in this season, no matter how you celebrate it, a lot of people are looking to the Father right now. And so I thank Him for the help that He has given us, for the opportunities He has given us, for the guidance He has given us.
Amen.
And I'm done.
And you're done.
And I'm done.
Mr. Howard, I know you haven't had much to go on, so, but we expect something from you.
Well, I first want to say thank you, Council, for the opportunity to serve our community. My wife Karen and I, like I said, we've lived here 11 years, and this is our home. I came here from my hometown. Well, I grew up. I grew up in Holland, Michigan. But this is our home. We're not planning on going anywhere when I retire. I think I said that in my letter. I think that's fairly well obvious what we've done in our little property over there. We both have a genuine, I say we, my wife and I have a genuine affection for the town. My wife served on the food bank. As I like to say, she's never found a weed she liked, so she loves to garden everywhere, not only just our house. She's done at the Chambers, Info Center, and other places for the city. And so I look forward to contributing what I can to the city. I think that's useful. Get out and meet folks and hear from the residents of Monte Vista, what they would like to see. Again, thank you. One more thing, I'd like to tender my resignation on the Planning Commission to the council.
You need that in writing.
Okay.
Actually, we probably do. He's probably right.
I assume it's not
You
good.
say that
I'll
often.
give you up there, so. If you want it on radio, I'll give it to you, Mr. Mayor. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I look forward to serving the city of Monte Vista.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And welcome. Thank you folks for being here to show your interest. That means a lot. Because through the last 5 years, it's things have come and gone, and it's been kind of shaky. So appreciate that. So don't give up. That's all I'm gonna tell you. Thank you for the interest to be involved in anything else. Community comments that I have gotten on the lights in this community have been amazing. People talking about driving in Monte Vista and seeing a different vibe, that this community is coming together, and it's something that's been well needed. I heard about it tonight when I was over at the Lauderdale. A gentleman approached me and said, absolutely amazing, hands down. So he said his wife was from here, and he said she is the old school people of being that's always negative about money, that way and getting nothing, whatever he was telling me. But he said it's really made a change. It's just taking time. So, and then another person made the comment that the festivities of coming in Monte Vista, seeing the lights just really brings Monte Vista back to what it used to be. So, good job, everybody. Gigi,
Rob,
all
Public
Rob and his
Works,
crew, and they wanted that
Stephanie.
passed on to everybody.
Yeah, did you notice coming in, yes, we got the lights across 160, and we've got 2 stars up on
Stars are up on the other 2 trees.
on the 2 evergreen trees, one here and the other one at the east end of Full and Wider. And I don't know, Rob,
Monday, the rest of the decorations will be up, minus the one street light that got hit.
I was gonna ask, I've only seen the one down here so far, cause it just went up, didn't you say today? Today.
The snowflakes.
It's beautiful. It looks like this beautiful piece of frosted lace. Can it stay up for the winter? Because it's not specific for anything. It's just winter.
You know, and you're right, and we can maybe try it. The challenge is one, the wind, but the biggest challenge is CDOT. And we're not supposed to string things across 160 and they just kind of turn a blind eye and we just act like we know what we're doing. But they may tell us we have to take it down.
Well, let's just let them do that.
Well, we don't want them to take it down because we won't see it again.
No, let's let them contact us. Don't ask for permission when forgiveness is coming.
All right, well, we will adjourn the meeting to January 5th, 6 p.m. here in council chambers. Thank you all.